Imagine a number in your mind. That number is $681 billion. This isn't the gross domestic product of a medium-sized country. This is the projected revenue of a single company for the 2025 fiscal year. To make this number easier to grasp, it's the equivalent of generating nearly $1.87 billion every day, or $78 million every hour, or $1.3 million every single minute. In a time it takes you to draw a deep breath and exhale, this machine has generated revenue equal to an ordinary person's entire life savings. Now, imagine an army of 2.1 million people. This number is larger than the population of many major cities around the world. A workforce operating under a single banner. And finally, imagine an empire stretching across the land, with over 10,750 commercial fortresses, or what we commonly call stores, rooted deep in the soil of 19 different countries. These massive, almost abstract numbers belong to a single name: Walmart. Behind the Great Wall of these figures, there isn't a king or a faceless board of directors. The heart of the power lies in the hands of one family. The founders, 3 children, Rob, Jim, and Alice Waltonall, with their descendants, quietly control about 45% of the corporation's shares. They are the guardians of a fortune worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The keepers of a legacy, and the ones who steer this giant ship. This is the story of Walmart. But it's not just a story about numbers. It is an economic epic, a lesson in vision, extreme frugality, and extraordinary adaptability. It didn't start in a glass tower in New York, but in a small, humble store in the town of Rogers, Arkansas, where the dust of the American Midwest still lingered in the air. The root of it all began with a man named Sam Walton, a man with a simple appearance, but inside was a sharp, analytical mind and a vision that saw through to the very nature of retail. Since the first store was founded in 1962, a simple mantra has been carved into the organization's DNA: everyday low price, or EDLP. Those 4 simple words became the guiding principle, the religion, the unbreakable promise that helped Walmart rise from a local entity to a global symbol of consumerism. So, what is the core question we will reflect on together tonight? What was the catalyst that turned a tiny seed in Arkansas into a giant, ancient tree, its branches casting a shadow over almost the entire retail world? And how has the Walton family, through generations, been able to maintain such tight control in a fortune that seems untouched by time? To find the answers, we don't need to rush. Let's very slowly turn back the flow of time. We will trace every footstep in Walmart's journey of more than 8 decades, decode every layer of its business strategy, and, most importantly, pull back the curtain on the secret of how the Walton clan preserved the power and the immense fortune they worked so hard to build. Welcome to Thanh Labs, where we transform dry, complex financial stories into soothing sleep experiences, using sleep psychology and sound therapy to help you drift into deep, effortless rest. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share this video. It really means a lot, keeps me going on this journey. Sleep deep, learn passively, and wake up wealthier. Part 1. Sam Walton, the trailblazer, the story of every great empire. Whether it's ancient Rome or a modern multinational corporation, often begins with an extraordinary individual. For Walmart, that individual was Samuel Moore Walton. He was born on March 29, 1918, in Kingfisher, Oklahoma, to a simple farming family. His childhood was shaped by the Great Depression, a period that etched the value of thrift and the meaning of every single dollar into the minds of an entire generation of Americans. As a child, his family moved constantly before settling in Missouri. It was here, at Columbia High School, that the first qualities of a leader began to sprout. Sam wasn't just a smart student. He was a go-getter. He achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest level in the Boy Scouts of America, a testament to his persistence, skill, and sense of responsibility. When he graduated in 1936, his classmates voted him most versatile boy. Walton's academic path continued at the University of Missouri, where he pursued a degree in economics. His graduation in 1940 not only gave him foundational knowledge, but also reinforced a rock-solid belief in the free market system. Immediately after graduating, the young Sam Walton began the first chapter of his career at the J.C. Penney chain in Des Moines, Iowa, as a management trainee. This was his real-world university. J.C. Penney wasn't just a job. It was a living laboratory for retail. Day by day, Walton observed, learned, and took notes. He learned how the way a product was displayed could influence a customer's decision. He learned the art of smiling, of listening, and of truly understanding a buyer's needs. He learned about the flow of inventory, about promotional programs, and about the shopping rhythm of a town. These seemingly simple lessons became the first foundation stones for his business philosophy later on. But like so many young men of his generation, the flow of his career was interrupted by a global event: World War II. Walton temporarily set aside his thoughts on prices and profits to put on a military uniform. He served in the U.S. Army as an intelligence officer, reaching the rank of captain. His time in the military forged in him a sense of discipline, the ability to plan, and calmness under pressure. In 1945, the war ended. Sam Walton, along with his wife, Helen Robson, returned to civilian life in Newport, Arkansas. But the fire of entrepreneurship within him had never died out. With intense determination, he took his first risky step. He borrowed $20,000 from his father-in-law, significant sum at the time, added $5,000 of his own savings that he and his wife had carefully saved during his military years. With $25,000 in startup capital, he bought the franchise rights to a Ben Franklin store, a brand of 5 Vendime variety stores that were very popular across America at the time. It was right here, in the modest space of the Ben Franklin store in Newport, that a retail revolution quietly began. Sam Walton was not just a store manager. He was a scientist in his own laboratory. He began to experiment with a formula, an equation that would later shake the entire world: the model of low prices and high service. This formula was based on an incredibly simple logic that most of his competitors overlooked. Instead of selling goods at the prices dictated by the Ben Franklin chain, Walton searched everywhere for suppliers with cheaper prices. He bought goods in slightly larger quantities to get better discounts. Then he passed those savings directly to his customers by lowering his selling prices. The goods in his store were always a few cents cheaper than at competing stores in town. Alongside low prices, he practiced high service. He was always at the store, working tirelessly, greeting every customer by name, and creating a friendly, familiar atmosphere. He understood that a good price could bring a customer in the first time, but only dedicated service could keep them coming back. The result was inevitable. The store grew exceptionally well. Revenue and profits grew impressively over the next few years. Sam Walton had proven his theory. However, fate always seems to have challenges for those with extraordinary willpower. In 1950, when his lease was about to expire, the landlord, seeing the store's success, decided not to renew the contract. Instead, he wanted to buy the store and run it himself, keeping all the profits. Sam Walton, though bitter, was forced to give up his first creation. This failure was an expensive lesson. He realized that controlling costs and prices wasn't enough. He needed to control the most fundamental elements, like the business location itself. Undeterred, Walton and his family moved to Bentonville, a small, quiet town about 60 miles from Newport. Here, he started over from scratch. He opened a new store and named it Walton's 5 and 10. This time, he had learned his lesson well. He didn't just rent the space. He negotiated shrewdly to sign a long-term lease for 99 years. This was a strategic move, ensuring stability and eliminating the risk of being kicked out again. At the same time, he boldly experimented with a concept that was completely new at the time: the self-service model. Customers could walk around freely, choose their goods, and bring them to the checkout counter. This was a daring step, far ahead of the thinking of the 1950s, which helped cut labor costs and improve the shopping experience for customers. Once the store in Bentonville was well established, becoming a familiar destination for locals, Sam Walton began to replicate the model. He didn't take out the profits to spend. Instead, he borrowed more capital and reinvested all the profits to open other Ben Franklin franchise stores in nearby small towns. By 1960, from a single store, he had become the owner of a chain of 15 stores. All of them, whether they were named Ben Franklin or Walton's, operated on a single business philosophy, a truth that Sam Walton had refined and perfected over more than a decade. Buy low, sell low. He called it a magic circle. Its logic was as beautiful and tight as a mathematical theorem. 1. Buy goods in extremely large quantities, directly from the manufacturer, to get the cheapest possible purchase price. 2. Sell them to the market at the cheapest price, lower than all competitors. 3. The low prices will attract the largest number of customers. 4. The large number of customers will generate huge sales volume, making up for the thin profit margin on each item. 5. The huge sales volume allows you to order in even larger quantities, and the cycle begins again. Don't try to sell expensive items to make a large profit on a few things. Sell many, many items to make a small profit on millions and millions of things. That is the essence of the game of scale. In the early 1960s, Sam Walton noticed a major shift in America's retail landscape. Large chain stores like Sears and Kmart were focusing on big cities and crowded suburban areas. They almost completely ignored the small towns and rural areas, assuming the profits there were not attractive enough. Sam Walton saw a golden opportunity in this gap. He believed that his model of large-scale discount stores could be incredibly successful in these small towns, where people had lower incomes and were extremely price-sensitive. He took this idea to the leadership of the Ben Franklin chain, proposing that they build bigger stores and sell everything at a discount, but they refused. The Ben Franklin leadership, with their conservative mindset, was certain that cutting prices would lead to cutting profits. It was a risk that none of their shareholders wanted to take. Disappointed, but not defeated, Sam Walton knew he was at a fateful crossroads. He could continue on the safe path, operating his chain of 15 stores and living a wealthy, comfortable life. Or he could turn onto a path no one had ever tried, a path full of risks, but promising a much greater reward. He chose the second path. He mortgaged his house, borrowed more money from the bank, and poured all his financial resources into doing something no one believed would succeed: opening a chain of large-scale discount stores in rural areas, selling all products at the lowest possible prices. His goal was crystal clear and unshakable: cut prices sharply to attract customers and increase sales volume to make up for the profit. This new approach wasn't just a business strategy. It was a challenge to the entire retail industry of the time, and more importantly, it laid the strongest foundation for an empire that was about to be born. The decisive moment in Walton's life and in the history of modern retail finally arrived. July 2nd, 1962, in Rogers, Arkansas. A small town with a population of only about 5,700 people. The first store, named Walmart Discount City, officially opened its doors. This store was nearly 3,300 square meters. Its design was incredibly simple, practical, and minimized every unnecessary detail. True to the no-frills spirit that Sam Walton always promoted, the goal was to cut operating costs to the absolute minimum. Concrete floors, metal shelves, fluorescent lighting. Everything served a single purpose: to lower the price. Inside, the store offered thousands of different consumer products, from home goods and canned foods to clothing, toys, and office supplies. And everything, without exception, was priced significantly lower than the general market. Walmart declared to its customers that this was a completely new retail model, one that had never appeared anywhere before. Sam Walton didn't just build Walmart with money and merchandise. He built his empire with a very clear business ideology. He did not choose to compete directly with the giants in the big cities. Instead, he executed a strategy that military commanders would call hitting the enemy's flank. He targeted the rural market, where there were few competitors, but the demand for low-priced goods was extremely high. While the big brands were fighting for every square foot of prime real estate in bustling urban centers, Sam Walton, with his delivery trucks and distinctive red signs, was quietly conquering the countryside. His promise was simple and powerful: everyday low prices, always. With that sharp vision from a single store in Rogers, the name Walmart spread rapidly like a wildfire on a dry prairie, across the state of Arkansas and neighboring states in just a few short years. And from here, the story of a legendary retail empire. A force that would reshape not only the American economy, but the shopping habits of the entire world, had officially begun its first chapter. Part 2: The Formation and Growth of the Walmart Empire. Chapter 1: Going Public and the Explosion. October 1st, 1970, was a momentous day, a fateful turning point that would provide limitless fuel for Sam Walton's ambitions. On this day, Walmart, still a relatively modest company, with only 38 stores, an annual revenue of $44.2 million. With 300,000 shares issued at a price of $16.50 per share, Walmart opened up a huge channel for raising capital. The abundant cash flow from investors across America now became the fuel for the Walmart machine to accelerate at an unprecedented speed. Becoming a public company also forced Walmart to operate more professionally and transparently. But the core of Sam Walton's philosophy remained unchanged. By 1975, just 5 years after the IPO, Walmart's scale had grown exponentially. The company operated a total of 125 stores, achieved revenues exceeding $340.3 million. But to achieve this miraculous growth, Sam Walton's vision was not limited to just opening new stores. The real secret lay in something customers never saw: the logistics system. Sam Walton understood that to sell at low prices, he not only had to buy at low prices, but he also had to ship and distribute at the lowest possible cost. He built a unique development model. Instead of building stores randomly, he built them in clusters. Then, he would build a massive distribution center in a strategic location, right in the middle of that cluster, ensuring that the distance from the distribution center to any store in the cluster was at most a one-day drive. While competitors like Kmart and Sears were still dependent on third-party shipping providers, Walmart proactively invested in building its own logistics infrastructure. They had modern warehouses, and most importantly, they had their own fleet of trucks. Thanks to this proactive approach, Walmart's logistics costs were always 2 to 3 percentage points lower than their retail rivals. The 2 to 3% figure may sound small, but in an industry with razor-thin profit margins like retail, that difference is a huge life-or-death advantage. It allowed Walmart to continue lowering its product prices, creating unbearable competitive pressure on its rivals. Walmart stores were strategically placed to create a dense coverage in the areas they chose. This strategy both ensured maximum efficiency for the distribution system and capitalized on the accumulated purchasing power of many small neighboring towns. It was like a spider's web, with the distribution center as the spider in the middle, and the stores as the nodes on the web, covering and capturing the entire purchasing power of a region. This strategy helped Walmart continue to dominate the market share in rural areas without having to compete directly in the big cities, which were already crowded with powerful competitors. Many have described Walmart's 1970s as the period of making hay while the giants were sleeping. While the big corporations were obsessed with the urban market, Walmart was quietly and patiently expanding in the central and southern United States, building a solid infrastructure foundation and accumulating resources, preparing carefully for a nationwide expansion in the next decade. Chapter 2: Technology and New Formats. If the 70s were the decade of building the foundation, the 80s were the decade when Walmart launched technological and strategic moves that completely changed the game. 1983, Sam's Club and the $1 billion milestone. In April 1983, Walmart opened the first store in its Sam's Club chain. This was a completely different model. A huge, no-frills warehouse club, exclusively for members who were small business owners or people shopping in bulk. The main strategy here was the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. Sam's Club quickly became a sensation, attracting a large base of loyal customers. In the first few years of this decade, the total revenue of the entire Walmart Corporation surpassed the $1 billion mark for the first time. Sam's Club was a brilliant strategic move, helping Walmart expand into a completely new market segment without affecting or diluting the traditional low-price image of the main Walmart retail chain. 1987. The $24 million satellite network. This was a move that demonstrated Sam Walton's forward-thinking vision. Walmart didn't just have the mindset of a typical retailer. It had the vision of a world-class technology and operations company. They invested a staggering $24 million, huge sum at the time, to build their own private satellite communication network. At the time, it was the largest private satellite system in the United States. This new technology allowed Walmart's headquarters in Bentonville to connect directly with thousands of stores across the country. They could track sales data in real-time, control inventory down to the individual item, and send out instructions instantly. While competitors were still struggling with fax machines, telephones, and reports sent by mail that took weeks, Walmart had a digital central nervous system. Sam Walton called it an information superhighway, a crucial stepping stone that helped the company accelerate dramatically and make decisions based on accurate data. 1988. The Supercenter and the one-stop shop revolution. The first Walmart Supercenter opened in 1988 in Washington, Missouri. It wasn't just a bigger store. It was a revolution in retail format. With its enormous size, the Supercenter combined a general department store with a full-service grocery store. The Supercenter introduced a brand new concept to the market: the one-stop shop. Now, customers could buy everything they needed for their family, from a bottle of ketchup and a set of tires to a flat-screen TV, in just a single visit to one store. This offered maximum convenience and saved time, a factor that was becoming increasingly valuable in modern society. 1989. System-wide cross-docking. If the satellite network was the brain, then the cross-docking model was the swift legs of the Walmart empire. This was a genius logistics technique. Instead of bringing goods from suppliers to a central warehouse, unloading them, sorting them, storing them, and then taking them out again to load onto trucks for delivery to stores, a time-consuming and costly process, cross-docking allowed goods to be transferred almost directly. Goods from a supplier's truck were unloaded on one side of the distribution center, immediately scanned and sorted by an automated conveyor system and moved straight to Walmart's trucks waiting on the other side, ready to go to the stores. The goods barely needed to be stored in a warehouse. This dramatically increased the speed of distribution, reduced warehousing costs to almost zero, and significantly shortened the product life cycle. It was especially useful for perishable items like fresh food, ensuring they reached consumers in the best possible condition. By the end of the 1980s, thanks to these continuous improvements, Walmart had 1,198 stores and had reached revenues of $15.9 billion, to 36 times more than when the company first went public. According to Forbes magazine's calculations, in 1985, Sam Walton's personal fortune alone exceeded $2.8 billion, making him the richest man in America at the time. However, wealth did not seem to change him as a person. Walton continued to live an incredibly simple lifestyle. He still drove his old Ford pickup truck, wore a Walmart baseball cap, and appeared like an ordinary working man. He was hardworking, meticulous, and always followed a golden rule: the customer is always right. That simplicity became deeply ingrained as a distinctive feature of the company's culture, a place where even later, CEOs were willing to roll up their sleeves, carry boxes, and flash a big smile to help employees when the store was busy. As he approached his 70s, Sam Walton began the process of slowly transferring power. He prepared the next generation. In 1988, he officially stepped down as CEO, handing over the position to David Glass, a talented executive who had been with the company for a long time. However, Sam retained his role as chairman of the board, and his voice still carried great weight in all of the corporation's strategic decisions. For Sam Walton, Walmart wasn't just a business, it was an ideal. The ideal of a better life for ordinary people through access to goods at increasingly cheaper prices. While the Walmart machine was expanding its influence, the Walton family was also quietly preparing for another journey. The journey of passing on the legacy through generations. In 1989, for the first time, Forbes magazine recognized the total wealth of Sam Walton along with his 4 children, Rob, John, Jim, and Alice. This was a clear sign that a process of transferring power and wealth was quietly taking place. Although at this time, none of the children held specific executive roles at Walmart, they had begun to participate in managing the family's assets and representing the voice of the next generation. Helen Walton, Sam Walton's life partner and loyal companion, also left a deep mark. She co-founded the Walton Family Foundation with him in 1987. The foundation's mission was not to polish their name, but to genuinely invest in education and economic development for less fortunate areas. This was not just a charitable act. It was the clearest declaration of how the Walton family chose to give back to society, to the communities that had nurtured their success. Chapter 3: National and Global Expansion. Entering the 1990s, Walmart was no longer just a regional power. It had become a national phenomenon. In 1990, Walmart officially reached sales of $25.81 billion and had conquered all 50 states of the USA. From a humble store in Arkansas in less than 30 years, Walmart had made itself a household name in every American family. Walmart was no longer just a part of America. In some ways, it was Americat, least in terms of consumption. But the corporation's ambitions did not stop at the US border. In 1991, Walmart opened its first international store in Mexico City in a joint venture with the local retail chain, Cifra. This was the first cautious but decisive step into the global market. In the same year, in the domestic market, the company launched a high-profile campaign, Made in America. On the surface, this was a patriotic slogan, encouraging consumers to support goods made in the USA. But behind it, it was a very powerful negotiation tactic. Walmart used this campaign to apply pressure, forcing American suppliers to lower their prices to compete with cheap, imported goods from Asia. In reality, it was not a blind promise to prioritize domestic goods. It was an ultimatum. If you cannot produce it cheaper, we will be forced to find another supplier. Walmart had begun to learn how to use its enormous scale as a lever of power. Either join Walmart's low-cost supply chain or be left behind. There was no third option. The result of these uncompromising tactics was a meteoric leap in growth. In 1997, a historic milestone was set. Walmart became the first retail company in the world to achieve annual revenues of over $100 billion. This figure was no longer just an achievement or a celebratory milestone. It was living proof of an operating model that was so efficient it was ruthless, where every cost was squeezed to the absolute minimum. One of Walmart's most distinctive and controversial tactics during this period was putting enormous pressure on its suppliers. In the book, The Walmart Effect by Charles Fishman, he described how Walmart could force a famous food manufacturer to close down numerous factories just to meet the chain's demands for ever lower prices. That was the price suppliers had to pay to get a spot on the shelves of the world's most powerful retailer. Not only did Walmart squeeze prices from manufacturers, but it also tightly controlled its internal costs, especially labor costs. The company strongly opposed the formation of unions among its employees. Throughout the 1990s, Walmart was known for its tough measures to prevent employees from organizing and joining unions. This policy, while helping Walmart keep its labor costs very low compared to unionized competitors. Also became the source of numerous lawsuits and criticisms, from allegations of discrimination to poor working conditions. As for Sam Walton, the soul of Walmart in the early 1990s, he received some bad news. He was diagnosed with bone cancer. Despite this, he maintained his optimistic spirit and an incredible work schedule. The man still regularly appeared in meetings, still flew his small plane to visit stores, listening and caring about every number, every small detail, as if Walmart were still a single small store in Rogers. In 1992, just a few weeks before his death, Sam Walton was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George H.W. Bush. This is the highest civilian honor in the United States, a tribute to his enormous contributions to the country's economy and consumer culture. Sam Walton passed away on April 5, 1992. At the age of 74, he closed a remarkable personal journey, but at the same time opened a completely new era for the legacy he left behind. Immediately after, the transfer of power took place smoothly, almost as if it had been pre-programmed. His eldest son, Rob Walton, was appointed chairman of the board. This was not a shocking, sudden change of power. It was a move that Sam Walton had carefully prepared since the late 1980s. The appointment of Rob Walton, a lawyer who deeply understood his father's philosophy, to the chairman position did not cause any internal disruption. On the contrary, it helped maintain the family spirit, a distinctive cultural feature that Walmart had always preserved. Meanwhile, the CEO position was still held by David Glass. He continued to steer the Walmart ship steadily through the period from 1988 until 2000. The combination of a Walton family member as chairman and a professional CEO created absolute stability at the executive level. Under the leadership of the Rob Walton and David Glass duo, Walmart witnessed an unprecedented period of strong growth. The company not only continued its rapid expansion domestically, but also made strong advances into international markets. They acquired the Woolco system in Canada and deepened their strategic partnership with the Cifra chain in Mexico. The logistics network became more automated, the supply chain became leaner, and Walmart's price competitiveness became a real nightmare for every competitor around the globe. The transition of power from Sam Walton to the next generation was exceptionally smooth. There were no scandals, no internal power struggles, no cultural rifts. This is extremely rare in the harsh world of business, and it is even more noteworthy given that Walmart was one of the world's largest companies. The greatest legacy Sam Walton left behind was perhaps not just the system of thousands of stores or the fortune of tens of billions of dollars. His greatest legacy was a corporate DNA, a cultural operating system where the obsession with low prices and the absolute belief in serving the customer were passed down from the founder through professional management and preserved by the next generation of his own family. Part 3. Reshaping and New Challenges Entering the New Millennium. Walmart was no longer just a retail company. It had become a gigantic economic machine, a force capable of shaping the prices of an entire economy. With over 3,900 stores worldwide and U.S. revenues exceeding $156 billion, double what it was just 5 years prior, its scale was hard to imagine. However, this was also the time when Davy Glass, the man who had steered Walmart through its most explosive decade, officially stepped down as CEO. His successor was H. Lee Scott Jr., a familiar face, a man who had risen through the ranks of Walmart's own leadership. As soon as he took office, CEO Lee Scott faced a very complex problem: how to maintain the position of a savings empire. As the market changed, consumers became more sophisticated, and Walmart's image faced increasing criticism. It seemed this problem would require a long and complex strategy to solve. But just 2 years later, an event showed the unstoppable power of this machine. In 2002, Walmart surpassed the oil giant ExxonMobil to claim the #1 spot on the Fortune 500 list for the first time, becoming the largest company in America by revenue. At that time, the corporation reached nearly $220 billion in revenue, and profits exceeded $6.7 billion. The retail world at this point seemed to be caught in a tornado named Walmart. Their all-encompassing low-price model had not only conquered the domestic market, but was also spreading globally. However, instead of just continuing to expand blindly, Walmart began to be more selective and strategic in its international expansion. In 2002, the company acquired a stake in the CU Group, one of Japan's leading retailers. This marked the first time the company had an official presence in a G7 country in Asia, a notoriously difficult market. 3 years later, in 2005, Walmart acquired Sone's operations in Brazil and expanded its presence in Central America by acquiring Carco, which included markets like Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. In 2008, Walmart entered Chile by acquiring the country's largest retailer, Y Servicio, and also established a 50/50 joint venture with Bharti Enterprises in India. However, not every market was a promised land. In 2006, Walmart had to make a bitter retreat from the South Korean market after its 16-store chain was completely overwhelmed by local competitors like Shinsegae and Lotmart, who had a better understanding of local consumer culture. In the same year, they also had to leave the German market, one of the most competitive retail markets in Europe, selling their 85 stores to the Metro Group, after years of losses. These two major failures made Walmart more cautious. They realized that rigidly imposing an American-style business model was not effective. This was an important lesson about the delicate balance between globalization alongside market expansion. Walmart's leadership also realized that in the 21st century, low prices was no longer a strong enough message to maintain their advantage. They needed to improve the shopping experience and build a more positive brand image. In 2006, the company began a large-scale renovation campaign for its US stores. The colors were changed, the lighting was made warmer, the aisles were widened, and the product layout was rearranged more scientifically, all to attract higher-income customers who had long been hesitant about the Walmart shopping experience. In 2007, a symbolic change took place. Walmart replaced its legendary slogan, "Always low prices, always," with a new, softer, and more positive message: "Save money, live better." This message didn't just emphasize savings. It highlighted a higher purpose, a better quality of life. According to a report by Global Insight in 2006 alone, Walmart's presence helped American consumers save a total of $287 billion, equivalent to $957 for every person, or $2,500 for every household. In 2008, this brand change was made even more visible. Walmart launched a new logo. The hyphen between Wal and Mart was removed. In its place was a yellow spark at the end, symbolizing innovation, inspiration, and the corporation's transformative energy. During this decade, Walmart also began to work on strengthening its image as a socially responsible company. After the devastating hurricanes Katrina and Rita hit the Gulf Coast in 2005, Walmart's logistics system proved its incredible efficiency. They were one of the fastest and most effective responders, donating $18 million in cash and dispatching 2,450 trucks full of relief supplies to the affected areas, often arriving before government agencies. In the same year, the company announced 3 ambitious sustainability goals: to be supplied 100% by renewable energy, to create zero waste, and to sell products that sustain the environment. This was an almost unbelievable ambition for a massive company known for its tight cost controls. This social commitment was also evident in its health policies. In 2006, Walmart announced a $4 generic drug program for a 30-day supply. This move sent shockwaves through the pharmaceutical industry, helping millions of low-income Americans access essential medicines at an unprecedentedly low cost. At the end of the decade, as the world began to enter the digital age, Walmart also started to pay attention to this trend. In 2010, the company acquired Vood, a video-on-demand platform, for about $100 million. Although this deal didn't get much attention at the time, it was the first stepping stone, a sign that Walmart recognized the threat. and the opportunity from the world of digital media and e-commerce world, where a new competitor named Amazon was rising powerfully. Throughout this turbulent decade, while the executive team had to make a series of critical strategic decisions, the Walton family was like a silent council. They did not directly interfere in daily operations, but their influence remained deep and widespread throughout the entire company. Rob Walton continued his role as chairman of the board steadily throughout the decade. He was the guarantor, ensuring that the Walmart ship did not deviate from the legacy of thrift and efficiency his father had left behind. Under the modern executive leadership of professional CEOs, the core values of Sam Walton were still preserved intact through the direct oversight of those who bore the Walton name. Although not directly running the company, other family members, Jim, Alice, and John, still held a majority of the company's shares through a financial tool called a family trust. Most notably, Walton Enterprises, LLC. In the mid-2000s, 3 of the 10 richest people in America shared the last name Walton. Though almost absent from the media, their influence was present in every long-term strategic decision of the company, to committing to sustainability goals. When Walmart faced a growing wave of criticism about labor conditions, unfair competition, or its negative impact on local small businesses, the Walton family chose an indirect way to respond. Through philanthropy, the Walton Family Foundation significantly expanded its scope, focusing on 3 main areas: education reform, environmental protection, and community development in their home state of Arkansas. This was a way to balance generating huge profits with demonstrating social responsibility. However, their very private nature, combined with their highly concentrated share ownership, also made the Walton family the focus of debates about inequality, power, and fairness in the shareholder structure of large corporations. But on the positive side, it is undeniable that the presence of the Walton family in the leadership structure brought incredible stability to the company during a period of great change. It was the glue that kept Walmart from falling into the trap of chasing short-term profits while ignoring long-term values. While many giant corporations of the same era collapsed or weakened due to wrong decisions, Walmart, with the quiet guidance of the Waltons from behind the scenes, maintained the steady breath of a nearly irreplaceable retail empire. Part 4. Adapting to lead in the digital age, entering the second decade of the 21st century. Walmart faced a challenger with a completely different business model. A competitor with no thousands of physical stores, no large army of sales staff, but one that was rising at a blistering pace. That competitor was Amazon. The digital age posed a life-or-death question for Walmart. Could a giant from the brick-and-mortar world compete with a force born from the digital world? In response, Walmart did not sit still. They made bold and expensive moves. In 2016, they made a shocking acquisition, spending $3.3 billion to buy Jet.com, a young e-commerce startup with smart technology and pricing models. This deal not only gave Walmart a technology platform, but, more importantly, it brought in Mark Lore, the founder of Jet.com, an e-commerce genius who then led Walmart's entire U.S. online business. In 2018, Walmart made another massive investment, this time in the international market. They spent $16 billion to acquire a 77% stake in Flipkart, the Amazon of India. This was the largest acquisition in Walmart's history. A huge gamble to strengthen its position in one of the world's fastest-growing markets and to block Amazon's expansion in Asia. Walmart also experimented with entering new areas, such as acquiring the online men's fashion brand Bonobos and other niche brands to attract younger, more stylish customers. From 2020 onwards, Walmart has aggressively pushed a strategy called omnichannel. This strategy seamlessly combines the strengths of the digital and physical worlds. Walmart's biggest advantage over Amazon is its network of over 5,000 stores across the U.S. They turn these stores into not just places to sell goods, but also into fulfillment centers and pickup return points for online orders. The launch of the Walmart Plus membership service at $98 per year was a direct and unapologetic response to Amazon Prime. Walmart Plus offers users benefits like unlimited free delivery from stores, discounts on gas, and the ability to scan and pay on their mobile phones to avoid waiting in line. By the 2025 fiscal year, these efforts had paid off. Walmart's projected revenue is $681 billion. It operates over 10,750 stores in 19 countries and has a team of over 2.1 million employees. They not only maintained their throne in traditional retail, but are also gradually redefining their role as an integrated technology, logistics, and even financial platform. The corporation's global e-commerce sales grew by 22% in the most recent year, primarily driven by home delivery services and the growth of its marketplace platform, where third-party retailers can sell on Walmart's website, similar to Amazon's model. At the same time, Walmart is investing heavily in future technologies to optimize its supply chain, automated robots in its warehouses, and building its own digital advertising platform called Walmart Connect. In this new era, as Walmart's management, under the leadership of CEO Doug McMillon, continuously responds to challenges from technology, changing retail models, and global competition, the Walton family, in the background, is also quietly carrying out a transfer of power to the third generation. This process is happening subtly and differently for each of Sam Walton's children. Alice Walton, the only daughter, has chosen a completely separate path. She does not participate directly in Walmart's management. Instead, she has dedicated her passion and her enormous fortune to art and philanthropy. In 2011, she officially opened the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas. This is not just a museum. It is a cultural and artistic statement from the great Walton dynasty, displaying countless priceless works by American artists. But more than a museum, it is a tangible symbol of the commitment to giving back to the community that Sam Walton himself had emphasized. Jim Walton, Sam's youngest son, who is also the chairman of Arvest Bank, maintained his position on Walmart's board of directors until 2016. He then passed this position on to his own son, Steuart Walton. This was a direct, clear, and symbolic transfer of power, marking the rise of the third generation of the family. Steuart, with his strong educational background and diverse business experience, represents a new generation of Waltons, less visible in the media, but deeply present in the corporation's most important decisions. Rob Walton, the eldest son and Sam Walton's direct successor, held the role of chairman of the board firmly until 2015. From this position, he not only ensured the company's stability during the turbulent digital transition, but also quietly made a crucial and wise move in transferring power. He passed the chairman's seat to Greg Penner, his son-in-law. This was an intelligent move of succession. Penner, with his extensive financial experience from Goldman Sachs and his long-standing connection to the Walton family, embodies a new generation of leadership, connected enough to the family's legacy, but also professional enough with a vision to lead Walmart into the age of data AI and borderless retail. As of 2025, the Walton family still owns about 45% of Walmart's shares, primarily through complex family trusts and financial instruments. This structure allows them to continue controlling the company's strategic direction without needing to appear in the top executive positions. The Walton family's total wealth is estimated to be over $432 billion. On Forbes' list of the richest people, the three familiar names Rob, Jim, and Alice Walton have consistently held positions in the top 20 for many years. However, what truly sets the Walton family apart is perhaps not just their immense wealth, but how they use that influence. Through the Walton Family Foundation, the family has contributed billions of dollars to education, environmental protection, and community development. From scholarship programs for students in rural areas and initiatives to improve the water quality of major rivers, to supporting local small businesses. They do not build their philanthropic empires loudly and ostentatiously. They choose a humble, discreet, and sustainable way. The Walmart of today is a completely different entity from the one in Sam Walton's time. From a discount supermarket chain, the company has transformed into a technology and logistics corporation, competing directly with Amazon on every front. Yet, despite these revolutionary changes, the core identity of Walmart: low prices, high volume, and a connection to the community has not faded, and that, perhaps, can only be maintained because behind the company, there is still a lighthouse that never goes out. That is, the Walton family. They have no ambition to be CEO. They do not chase headlines in the newspapers. They do not get caught up in the vanity of fame. The Walton family has chosen a different path. They play the role of the guardians of the foundation, the protectors of the legacy. Just like how Sam Walton used to walk into his first store every morning, look around and ask himself, how can we serve our customers better today? His children, and now his grandchildren, although not directly standing at the checkout counter or stocking shelves, seem to hold that same spirit in every decision they make from behind the scenes. Part 5. Conclusion. From a small, lonely store in the fields of Arkansas to a global retail empire with a market value sometimes greater than the GDP of many countries, Walmart's journey is not just a story of business growth. It is a full and clear reflection of the American entrepreneurial spirit, daring, practical, and constantly evolving. Sam Walton, with a philosophy that seemed almost naively simple: lower prices to serve the community, laid the foundation for a massive commercial system that, to this day, still operates on that same core principle. Even though it is now wrapped in many complex layers of technology, digital strategy, and global vision. However, what is special lies not only in the Walmart machine itself, but also in the family behind it. The Walton family does not just hold shares, they hold a legacy. They preserve a retail ideology that has been systematized, simplified, and expanded to every corner of the global economy. From the first generation, like Rob, Jim, and Alice, to the next class, like Stoyard, Walton, or Greg Penner, we see a clear and carefully calculated path of succession. It is not just a transfer of power or wealth. It is a transfer of belief, philosophy, and the social role of a massive corporation. Throughout its more than 6 decades of existence, Walmart has had to adapt to countless historical changes. From financial crises and the powerful rise of e-commerce to the growing pressures for environmental responsibility and global supply chain transparency. But it is thanks to its ability to pivot quickly, its courage to invest heavily in technology, and most importantly, its maintenance of a clear corporate culture, that this corporation has held its leading position. Walmart is not a perfect entity. The lawsuits, the labor disputes, the failures in some foreign markets are clear evidence of that. But amid the noise and controversy, one consistent spirit stands out: a continuous flow. To always find ways to serve the mass consumer better and cheaper. And that, perhaps, is what has helped them not only survive, but become a global economic icon for over half a century. The story of Walmart and the Walton family is a testament that sometimes the simplest ideas, when executed with extraordinary determination and discipline, can change the world. Thank you for listening. I hope tonight's story from Thanh Labs has given you some deep insights and a bit of relaxation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us. I wish you a very good night's sleep. See you in the next story.